At the same time, the Chinese military commission chief is visiting Vietnam's leader and Communist Party chief To Lam. An unusual visit since that would typically be Chinese leader Xi Jinping's responsibility. So to hear more about the visit and what it means, we bring in Antonio Graceffo, China analyst and author of Red Alert, China's Global Power and How It Threatens U.S. National Security. Good morning, Antonio. So what is the purpose of this visit? What kind of goal or message does Zhang, the Chinese military mission chief, what do you think he brings with him?
You know, it's very suspicious that Xi Jinping was not on this mission because the Vietnamese, I was in Vietnam, by the way, when this meeting took place, and they treated it as a state visit, even though Xi Jinping was not there. And it is possible that Zhang Youxia is trying to show that he's got some power or some autonomy.
So tell me more about that. What was so unusual about that?
Well, you have the chairman of the Central Military Command of China meeting with the head of state of another nation. So that's a little bit strange. Normally, that would be a meeting between two heads of state, and then the Central Military Commander would meet with his Vietnamese counterpart rather than with the head of state. The other thing, this was the first high-level state visit to Vietnam since To Lam assumed his position last May. So that's also a little bit unusual that his first visit is not from a head of state, but rather from the chairman of the Central Military Commission. Beyond that is the discussion itself was a bit unusual because they're discussing border security agreements while the two countries are actually in a border dispute.
So let's talk about this a little bit later about international politics. But in terms of Zhang's visit, do you think then that this was a heads up to the world that, Xi Jinping doesn't actually have the full power anymore?
It's possible that they were trying to send and I'm not sure who they would be, but that they are trying to send a message that Xi Jinping does not have 100% of control over everything anymore. There was also some ambiguity in the greetings that were extended back and forth because To Lam sent his respects to Xi Jinping, and only one of many Vietnamese government reports that I read said that Zhang Youxia extended Xi Jinping's greetings to Lam. Only one of the Vietnamese media reported that, so it is possible that he actually did not even convey Xi Jinping's greetings.
So what would it mean then if there actually is a shift in power dynamics within the CCP in China? And why is this important? Why would this be an important change for the international community?
Well, so far, Xi Jinping has had, he's the paramount leader. He has control over everything. And this would show that there is beginning to be a crack in his armor. I think the economy is very bad, and Xi Jinping has sort of reneged on his promise to provide the people with a moderately prosperous society. I think he held the COVID lockdowns too long, and he did a number of things to upset the West, which has then impacted foreign direct investment in China, jobs, exports. So I think Xi Jinping's rule is starting to, I don't want to say it's collapsing. I will just say that it is beginning to show some cracks.
So I know there is two different factions within the Chinese regime. Does that mean that this could be the other faction that is grappling for more power?
It could very well mean that. Devil's in the details, but it could also be that Vietnam just hyped this meeting unnecessarily. Is also possible that Vietnam is very proud to have had a meeting with China. But what's also unusual is that Vietnam is usually very cautious about China, and they don't want to be dominated by China. And of course, To Lam met with President Biden in September, and the U.S. and Vietnam have upgraded their relations. So normally we'd say Vietnam would be kind of playing both sides, so they wouldn't unnecessarily hype a visit from China. So it's unclear right now what this means, but it is definitely possible that this meeting was arranged or was sanctioned by some faction within the CCP that does not support Xi Jinping.
Got it. And whatever might be behind this, it is It seems like it is a China effort to better relations with Vietnam. I don't know if you would agree with that. And an analyst from the Australian Strategic Policy Institute says it could be part of the CCP's divide and conquer strategy to gain control of the South China Sea. That sounds pretty alarming. How do you see this?
Yeah, that's definitely the case. I mean, right now Vietnam and India are both sort of key players in this that could go either way. India could fall into the China orbit. Vietnam could fall into the China orbit. As much as Vietnam has always distrusted China, on the other hand, they're both communist countries. They're both in Asia. The U.S. fought a very long war in Vietnam, so it's always possible that Vietnam would gravitate towards China rather than the U.S. Also, Tu Lam's background is that he was in public security, which would mean that he is more of a hardliner, more of a devout communist. And so, again, it is possible that he may prefer China to the United States. And of course, China would prefer to have Vietnam on their side.
Got it. Well, Antonio Graceffo, I think some really great insights as always. I appreciate you coming on and taking your time today.
Thank you very much.